Hi everyone, my name's Laura and you're watching my channel So Very Laura. Welcome if you're new here and welcome back if you're an existing subscriber. So today is the afternoon of Wednesday 28th of August, and that can only mean one thing. It's reveal day for challenge 2 of the Busy Bee sewing challenges. So if you've watched any of the other vloggers before, or you've watched my earlier vlogs, you'll know that there are 8 of us doing the Busy Bee challenges, and we're doing 3 challenges over 3 months, which are broadly based on the challenges undertaken in the Great British Sewing Bee. So in true Sewing Bee style, challenge 2 for us was a transformation challenge. And Sam Sequin Gurley and Christine the Gemini Stitcher, who put all this together, took the view that the best thing to do was to give us a choice of versions of all the challenges that the sewists on the Great British Sewing Bee had to do this year. And I'm sorry for those of you who can't see the actual series. So what I'll do in the notes below, I'll link our versions of what those challenges were. So I'll put those in the notes. But they changed them very slightly so that we could all end up with garments or accessories that we would actually wear or use rather than something that we weren't ever going to wear again. And our release vlogs are all out today, so do go off and watch everyone else's, and I'll link their channels below as well. But yeah, so my last vlog I talked about what I was going to do, and I chose the challenge of creating a bag from an old jacket. So I'll pop some footage in here of the jacket that I chose, which I got from a local charity shop. And you'll see that it's kind of dark on one side, and then it had this flowered interior, and then it had blue piping round it. So I've got a little bit of the remnants of the fabric here just to give you a bit of a close-up. So this is what was the neck. So you can see, so that was the outer, and it's pre-quilted, and that's the inside, and then it's got this blue kind of bias binding trim, and if you look, it's one fabric, but it's got this kind of wadding inside of it. So that's what I chose to use. I think it cost me £7.50, so it wasn't too bad at all, really. And this is the pattern that I decided to make. So it's a free pattern. It's by Swoon Patterns, and it's the Ethel tote bag. So I'll link my original vlog down below, so you can go and have a look and see how I arrived at the decision to make this one. But yeah, I'm here to talk to you about how I got on. So did I manage to make a bag? Did I not manage to make a bag? And how did I find it? So I'll put you out of your misery. I did manage to make a bag, and here it is, sitting on the floor. Hang on. Here we go. So here is my Ethel tote bag. So you'll see on the front I've put the pockets in, which is it's basically one pocket but then top stitched down the middle to form 2, and this is exactly as it is on the original pattern. And what I did was I took the bias tape off elsewhere in the jacket and just stitched it over to kind of form a bit of a feature, I suppose, a bit of a contrast. So I've got a pocket on that side. The other side I've left plain, except I had a label in my stash which just says, I think it's going to come out the wrong way around, but it actually just says yay. And I thought it went quite well in terms of colour, and I really liked it with the little smiley faces on it. On the exclamation mark, it's got a smiley face. I don't know if you can see that. You probably can't. But yeah, and it goes quite nicely. I think it's a Kylie and the Machine label, which was given to me by a a friend from my former work. So you'll see what I did. I used the fabric with the darker side out on most of the outside of the bag, and then just put one side of the bag with the floral side facing out, but then the contrast there. And then I inside have got, I don't know how well you can see, so I've got one dark panel, and then all the rest I'm using the floral fabric on the inside. So the two sides, actually the base, which you probably won't be able to see, and yeah, all the sides. And what I've done on the inside, if you can see, it's the same on both sides. I've put in pockets, and these are actually the original pockets from the front of the jacket. So I just unpicked them and sewed them into the lining before I joined the lining to the exterior. So how did I find it? So I did actually spend quite a lot of time unpicking the jacket, and of course I could have just tried to cut the pattern pieces straight out, but I'm glad I did take the time to unpick it, because it meant I could use some of the bias binding as a feature, and also it meant I could use the fabric to the maximum available. And sometimes I needed to do that, because some of the pattern pieces, when I printed them off and when I spoke to you the first time, I'd not actually clocked the fact that some of them stuck together. So that's the pattern piece for the sides, it's cut on the fold, and that's the pattern piece for the side panel. So I really did need to maximize my use of fabric. And actually you can maybe just see on the insides, I didn't have enough fabric to actually cut out all the main panels for the linings. I didn't have the space to cut them out on the fold, so I actually cut them out for the linings, the two linings. I cut them out just single, added in a 1/2 inch seam allowance and just sewed them together, and that worked. I don't know if that's because I wasn't concentrating when I cut it out, but I think I was always going to struggle to get everything out of the jacket, because it wasn't that big a jacket really. So the other thing that I just couldn't get out of the jacket was the handles. So it was getting to the point where I needed to make a decision whether I cut the handles out of something else, or whether I cut the handles out of the fabric and used, I don't know, denim or something for the interior. So in the end I cut out some handles from denim, and these are actually made from a pair of my jeans, which have basically given up the ghost. These are just ready to wear jeans, so I just cut them out of one leg, and I've got a whole stack of jeans which I'm going to try and use the fabric out of, kind of sitting in the corner. So I was pleased to do that really, because it saved me going out and buying anything like webbing. It goes quite nicely and it's sturdy, obviously. And then just to pull it together a little bit, I cut out these little bits of fabric, and all I did was I folded it into thirds, which is what you do with the handle in effect. You fold it, no, you put a crease down the centre of the handle width, and then you fold each piece to the centre to hide the raw edges, and then fold it over and stitch it. And that's what I did with these, except of course I stitched it round the denim, and then I added these little bits of blue trim on the end just to tie it together. Arguably I should have done it in the darker colour, because it would probably stay clean for longer, but I'll come back to why I didn't do that a bit later. So yeah, so that's the bag. I'm quite pleased with it really. It went together reasonably easily. Thank you massively to Kate, who is one of my lovely viewers, who put a comment in. I'd said I'm not going to use any foam interfacing on the bag itself. I'm just going to put it in the base. And she said, well, why not? Because it might make the bag harder to use. And she'd actually made the bag. So I didn't have foam interfacing, but I did have foam stabilizer, which is in the bottom. And in the end, I did attach it to all the outside pieces, but for the lining pieces, I just, because you've already got kind of this wadding bit inside, I just treated them as one piece of fabric, didn't worry about interfacing those. And I think it's worked out fine, but it does have a rigidity that is going to make it easier to use. I also used as well as the instructions, which are okay, but they're quite basic. I think really it more or less assumes that you've made bags before, but it's not that difficult a construction process. But I did also watch a vlog by somebody called Deb Jamieson, which I think I talked about in my last vlog, but I'll link it down below. And that was useful, particularly in terms of remembering to clip your straight edges when you're sewing the sides to the main panels of the bag and the lining, so remembering to clip the straight edges so it goes in better, so that helped. She also, I would say, makes a bit of an elevated version of the bag, because I think she'd put a zip in on the inside pocket or something, so, and she puts in a magnetic clasp just here. So that is the one thing that I would say about this, is that because of the way I've made it, it doesn't have a clasp on it. So I might try and sew in something like a giant press stud and see if I can catch it into the stabilizer inside for a bit of rigidity. My husband suggested Velcro, but I just don't fancy going every time I walk in anywhere. But it is quite a nice size bag, and of course the other way of using it would be to just pop it over my shoulder. If I stand up, you can see, and then that would obviously be reasonably secure. So I think I will use it, but there is one caveat, which is I think I've worked out why it ended up in the charity shop. Now, it may have been because the person didn't like it. It may have been because somebody had sadly died, of course. It may be because it didn't fit the person. But it might also have been because the colour bleeds, I think. So I didn't pre-wash it before I started making it. I thought, well, I'll make it and then I can always chuck it in the washing machine afterwards. But what I have noticed is that when I've been working with the fabric, and, you know, particularly like, say, yesterday when I was finishing it off and I was holding the seams to stitch them together and manipulating them, my nails were kind of coming out with blue all over them. So I think the colour does leach slightly. So what I'm going to do is chuck this in the washing machine with one of those colour catcher sheets and hope that that does the trick. But at the moment, I absolutely would not fancy carrying this wearing a white t-shirt on a hot summer's day, because I think it would be disastrous. So hopefully I can solve that little problem. But I do wonder if that's why it ended up in the shop, if somebody wore it and then discovered that it was either coming off on their clothes, or, you know, if they were sort of sitting with their hands on their lap or anything, it was leaching off. So I don't know, but that was a thought. Do I like the pattern? Yes, I do like the pattern. I would make it again, and I think if I made it again, I would make it with the modifications that are in the vlog that I just mentioned. So I probably would put fasteners on the pockets and a magnetic fastening. So I definitely think that that is a possibility. And I might also make it with slightly longer straps, or put on a separate strap to carry it as a shoulder bag. But I think it's a nice size tote. And as I say, it went together pretty well. And I'm really quite proud of myself, because I had to think carefully about which bits of the jacket I used. I did, as I mentioned in my initial vlog, I did want to use the poppers that were on this, but in the end I couldn't get the depth out of the fronts of the bag to use to make the inside side panels, which is what I would have needed to do really to use the poppers. And I did think about maybe doing something that went over like that, but I thought it was probably going to make it quite bulky, so that's why I didn't. So yeah, I didn't get to do that. But really, apart from little tiny pieces, this is pretty much what was left out of the jacket. So it just goes to show how much fabric there actually is in a lined bag, I think. So yeah, so let me know what you think. I am really pretty pleased, and as I say, free pattern. And the only money I spent was on buying the jacket from the charity shop. Everything else I already had. So I already had some foam stabilizer, as I mentioned, and I already had the denim. So I think, yeah, I think this is a real transformation in the spirit of the challenge. I didn't set myself a time limit, but I will say that actually I only started cutting it out on Saturday, and I certainly haven't been sewing it all day, every day. So I would say it maybe took me 5-6 hours overall. So the only other thing to say about making the bag is that it was quite hard work trimming down around all the foam areas when you have to cut the seam allowances, and also because of that inside of the fabric, it really was kind of quite irritating and tickly, and I got bits all over the floor which now needs hoovering. And the other thing I would say is it was really quite hard to get it through my sewing machine at times, and I really needed this. So this came with my sewing machine, and it's described in the sewing machine manual as a shank that you use, a kind of widget that you use if you're sewing on buttons with a shank. So you put the button in like that. But I think also it's really one of these humper jumper things. So what I use it for is I use it to raise part of my sewing machine foot. So if you're going uphill, so you've got a seam here, which I found a lot on the bag, when you get to a big seam, that your sewing machine's foot suddenly stops going anywhere because it's trying to go uphill. So I would use that, and it pushes that back up on a level, and then it can carry on. And I could not have made the bag without this. So I can really recommend these. I mean, my Janome is pretty powerful, but it really didn't like some of those seam areas. And also I sometimes found that I just hand cranked the wheel, and that helped. Okay, so that's everything in terms of the bag. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Also, I'll pop a link in the comments, down below, to a vlog called Life So Savoury, which I used to make a free dungarees pattern. She has lots and lots of free patterns, and by sheer chance I got an email, because I'm on her mailing list, this morning, and she was talking about lots of different free bag patterns. So if you're in the market for free bag patterns, and bearing in mind, as I think Sam Sequin Girlie said on her vlog today, that Sew Upcycle October or November is coming up again soon, you might find that interesting and useful. So I'll link to her down below. And also, just to touch on what I am wearing the shirt to Stockbridge blouse from I think it's Grace and Gravestock. I'll put the link down below. And I made this for the Sew Upcycled challenge a couple of years ago. I did it as a sew along, so I'll link it down below. And essentially, this is a men's shirt, and what the pattern does is it provides instructions for you how to cut down the men's shirt, put darts in it, but it's the original collar, the original cuffs, the original buttons. I think it's really clever. So I'll pop a pic in here of me wearing it so you can see the whole thing, and I'll link to my vlog down below. But I thought, since we were talking upcycle and transformation, that might be something you're interested in if you've not been following me for all that long. So that's all the transformation challenge stuff. But I also thought I would talk a little bit about what I'm going to do for our third and final challenge, which is due to be revealed on Wednesday, September the 25th. So this is like the made to measure challenge. And so the theme is to make something, a garment or an outfit that you would take on a Mediterranean holiday. So Mine has got a little bit of a twist in that I'm not making something for me, I'm going to make something for my husband. So I am going to make him a pair of shorts. And the pattern I'm going to use is this one. So it's McCall's M7987, and I'm going to make him the shorts, which is this view here, obviously. So I've made these for him before. I made him them out of a fabric with minions all over them, and I'll pop a pic in of him here wearing them. So he quite likes, he's a bit like me, he quite likes slightly off the wall patterns and fabrics. And I've actually got the shorts here to show you, but apologies because they actually need a bit of an iron. So here's the shorts. And you can see I actually lined them with this yellow fabric, which isn't in the pattern instructions, so I kind of basically worked that bit out for myself. But this fabric was a little bit too see-through, so I lined them for him. So yeah, that's it with the minions on. And he really likes these shorts, and they fit him really nicely. So I have already had the plan to make these for him again, and I already have the fabric, so it struck me as kind of sensible to pick something that I wanted to make for him anyway, and that I've already got all the things for, rather than spend half the month trying to work out what I was going to make for me, particularly at this time of year. So in terms of lining, he wants them lined again, and I've still got plenty of this left. So this is the same lining that I put in the Minions shorts, and it's just a plain yellow cotton fabric, and this came from a local fabric shop. Right, time to put your sunglasses on. Some of you might have seen this before when I originally got it, but a lot of you won't have. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. Put your sunglasses on. Are you ready? Here's the fabric. Look at this. Isn't this just incredible fabric? So I told you like bright patterns. So here's my fabric, and you can see it's lots and lots and lots of different colours and these geometric shapes. I think this will make a really good pair of shorts. I think I'm going to have to be careful with the pattern placement though. We don't want any unfortunate placements of circles around the crotch area, so I'll be careful with that. So this came from a fabric shop in Vigo in Spain when we were on a cruise, probably about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. The only problem with it is I can't remember where I got the fabric from, but even if I did, as last time when I showed it, I'm not going to list the fabric shop, because when we got it, but I didn't realise until I got it home and I was showing it on my channel, it has a dirty mark running all the way through the middle of the fabric. As if you, I don't know if you can see it very well. It doesn't show it massively well on camera. It's on the, can you see on the white there? And so that runs down. It's right in the middle of the fabric, and I think probably there's about, yeah, there's a good probably, it's most of the way down actually. It's almost, thinking about it, it's probably no, it's not a flaw in the fabric. You can see there it's all really dirty, and I have put this through the washing machine twice. I've tried stain remover and it won't come out. I don't think this is going to be a problem for cutting out a pair of shorts. I think I should be able to cut around it, but it's not great, is it? Because it was actually massively expensive, because we didn't really realise, not speaking Spanish, and so he cut it out, and we our eyes kind of watered a little bit at the price of it. So yeah, when you pay that much, you don't really expect there to be dirty marks on the fabric. And if I'd been buying it to make a dress or a top for me, I think it would have been a lot harder to cut round. So yeah, so that is what I am going to make. I already have orange thread and I already have an orange zip, which I haven't got out because you know what an orange dip looks like. And the only thing I may still need to buy is a button, depending what I've got in my button stash, because the pattern actually says hook and eye, but he wants a button. So that's what I'll do for him. So it depends if I've got something appropriate in my stash. So yeah, so that's it. So I need to get a wiggle on with this. This is all pre-washed, and of course, because I've made the pattern before, I've got all the pieces cut out, and I need to remember that there is an error on the pattern, because I'm pretty sure that the fly shield, the instructions are wrong in terms of which way around to cut it out, so I need to check that. I have done a thorough review of this before, so I'll pop a link down below to that video for you so you can see and see a little bit more about the Minions shorts. But it struck me that this was a sensible pair of shorts, garment really, to make for this challenge, because it was on my to-do list anyway for projects. If I get time, he might just get a t-shirt to go with it, but he does have any number of ready-to-wear t-shirts. And I am entering a slightly busy September in terms of where my weekends are at. So I am not sure how much other sewing I will get done. And I'm also going to a 60th birthday party for a friend who, as you might have worked out, she's 6 weeks younger than me. And they're having a buffet dinner at a restaurant. And it's smart casual, and I don't know what on earth to wear and or whether to sew anything for it. So I might do a vlog about some options for that, but whatever it is, probably needs to be quick, which means it probably needs to be jersey, I would think. So next up for me is sewing my denim jacket up. I've very nearly finished it for my collab with Mandy, which will come out after we've done a social together on the 8th of September, and also getting on with these and tidying my sewing room, because my sewing room is a bit of a state. I've started trying to tidy it. It's time for me to love you and leave you, and go and get off and hoover my floor from the remnants of the bag and get on with a bit more sewing. I'm on leave this week, so that's all good. So hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to go and watch all the other lovely vloggers and their Busy Bee challenge reveals, which is what I'm going to go off and do right now. And I'll see you very soon with another video. If there's any particular type of vlog you'd like to see, do please let me know in the comments. Please click like if you enjoyed this video, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.